All right, so the number one question I get asked all the time, whether it's through TikTok direct messages, whether it's through Instagram direct messages, whether it's through email, or even in person when I host these workshops is, Juan, how can I raise money for my business if I am undocumented? Now, having the experience of raising $30,000, I want to use this video to share some of the tips that I've learned throughout the way, where to find some of these grants, and also if you stay to the end of the video, I will also be telling you how I use the money. And you're probably wondering, like, what happens when you get the money? How does that whole thing happen? It's really simple. It's just...
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.
I do want to tell you about the 4 ways that I was able to raise money. Okay, so I raised money through fellowship, entrepreneurship fellowships. I've raised money through pre-accelerator programs. I've raised money through accelerator programs. And I raised money through young entrepreneurship grants or business readiness programs as well. So fellowships are pretty much beginner friendly. They're really more focused on learning business topics. So for example, I was part of this summer entrepreneurship program. We would have free webinars. We will also have quick networking sessions. We were paired up into groups, to meet other student entrepreneurs. So it was great, and it was all different colleges. But again, I mean, it wasn't something very intensive. It was mainly like, okay, attend these webinars, complete these deliverables by the end, and you'll be able to get your funding. Then from there, there's pre-accelerators, and pre-accelerators are also pretty beginner friendly. The goal of these programs is to help you write a business plan by the end of the program, and it also, the one that I was a part of, ended with a pitch competition.
Juan Maya Hernandez, when we engaged for the first time with Juan, he asked us why should he be in Seed Lab. He grilled us with questions. Here's Juan 8 months after Seed Lab. Juan, you have the floor.
Hey everyone, can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. So imagine you're a college student and you just landed your dream internship. But unfortunately, you can't get hired not because you don't have the skill or the talent, but because of your legal status. This happened to me last year when a startup wanted to hire me, but they simply did not know how to do it. And I remember going to the resources on campus, hoping that they'd be able to help me, but their help wasn't enough, and I missed out on a big opportunity. As immigrants, moving to a new country brings us challenges. We have to learn a new language, adapt to a new culture, and have a harder time finding jobs. And this is a huge problem, a problem that today can impact almost 46 million immigrants in the US. Despite these challenges, immigrants create jobs. In fact, today there's around 3.2 million immigrant entrepreneurs that in total employ 8 million people. Now, we are on a mission to help the next generation of immigrant entrepreneurs get into the workforce, and we found an easy way to do it. I call it Prepare. So what is Prepare? Prepare is a marketplace between immigrant contractors and US companies. This way, companies will have access to immigrant talent, improve their diversity efforts, and avoid any hiring concerns they may have. Now, making money is also very easy for us because from every transaction, making money is also easy because we get paid whenever the contractors get paid, because we take a 20% commission off of every transaction. Now, we are a fast-growing company today. We've already had 1,000 users. We've been featured in various podcasts and already have 5 clients. Now, although our competitors, are platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, none directly address the needs of the immigrant community. And that is what makes us different. We are building the tools to help immigrants work and start their businesses here in the US. I didn't start this to start a business. I started this out of necessity. As a founder and immigrant myself, I bring years of personal experience with this problem and the community behind me. And since launching the beta website, I brought on 2 incredible tech interns to help me take it forward. Now, by the end of the year, our goal is to have 100 student contractors sign up on our platform and make a revenue of $5,000. Now, we have great ambitions, but we know we can't do it without your help. So I am seeking for mentors, potential clients, and looking to raise a $100,000 angel investment by the end of the year. Hi, my name is Juan Maya Hernandez, and I believe that everyone, regardless of immigration status, can obtain career opportunities or create their own without limitation. Thank you. Not all pre-accelerators are going to provide you some funding, and I was fortunate enough that at the end of the program, there was 120 undocumented students, 6 different states, 1 day to launch your business. We started UndocuStartup in California, but we knew that our impact had to go in more than one state. So introducing the UndocuStartup Tour, we are bringing our flagship entrepreneurship bootcamp to 6 different states for the next few months.
$26 in investment.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and we also got 1 client.
Like last minute, I like send messages to like the people I know, and I just got like sent 60.
Ooh. There's only 120 spots, so apply now at www.undocustartup.com/tour. Again, www.undocustartup.com/tour. And I'll see you on the other side. Funding available from the nonprofit organization that I was a part of. So yeah, these programs mainly focus on your mission, your vision, your competitive advantage, and now working with people, and then also you get to learn from different experts, webinars on how to pitch, right? And where do you find this? Again, I found this at a school at my UCLA Entrepreneurship Center. I pretty much just subscribed to these newsletters, and that's where I found it. Now, after pre-accelerator programs, there are accelerator programs, which they are more intermediate programs. You're ideally past the ideal stage. You also kind of have a team, and your next goal is to raise money from investors and pitch in front of a public audience, right? So I did one at UC Berkeley, and I did one at Startup UCLA. One was virtual, one was in person. From what I have experienced, there's 3 types of accelerator programs. There's equity-based accelerator programs where they give you X amount of money in percentage of your company. That's the first one. Then from there's no equity-based accelerator programs where they actually give you a grant for being part of it and being accepted. So I did one at Startup UCLA. They gave me $5,000 just for being accepted and being part of the program. And then the third one is they don't give you money by being accepted. At the end of the program, you're able to compete for X amount of money with all the other startups that also got accepted. And then the last way that I raised money or I've gotten grants have been through Young Entrepreneurship Grants and then business readiness programs. So these 2 types of programs are very similar, but they're much smaller and more selective on the people that they choose, right? So I received a Young Entrepreneurship Grant at this organization called the William G. Nash Foundation Grant, and they were supporting young entrepreneurs. You had to submit what you were working on, why you need the money, how it's going to help you. And then I also got to connect with another CEO, another founder, which was really helpful for me at that time. And then business readiness programs are also kind of known as technical assistant programs by certain nonprofit organizations that host them. And again, you have to go through some training, and then once you sort of pass that training, then you're able to get a certificate, then you can apply to the grant. But ultimately, I mean, these are all the 5 ways that I raised funding for my company, right? Right, so now let's talk a little bit about the application process, right? So there's ultimately 2 steps when you're applying to some of these programs, accelerators, grants. So the first thing that you got to do when you're applying to these is a written application and potentially a video, right? So for the fellowship, the business readiness, the pre-accelerator programs, they ultimately ask you about your team, your business, traction, why do you want to join the program? And then accelerator programs, again, they're more competitive. They ask you about your team, traction, funding, what makes you different, your goal by the end of the program, the market size, because startup companies are companies that want to go public eventually or sell the company. And then they also require a pitch deck, so a 7-8 slide presentation where you talk about the problem you're solving, your solution, how far you've come, how big is the market, and then your ask. You usually use a pitch deck to raise money from investors. Okay, so those are ultimately the 2 steps for you to apply. The other thing that I want you to know is that these are not the only ways that you can raise money for your business, because there's also 3 other ways that I personally raise money for my business. And these ways are starting a fundraising campaign. So right now I'm actually doing a fundraising campaign for my first ever pitch competition for undocumented students this summer for one of my incubator programs. And I am raising funding from the public, from people that I know. That's one way you can also raise money. The other one is a friends and family round. So similarly with my fundraising campaign, I've asked my family members so far like to invest into the pitch competition that I'm doing. But I am also planning on asking my mentors, planning on asking people on TikTok, planning on making a video about it, and then planning on asking other organizations to sponsor. So you can also raise money through that. And then the third way is, you can raise money from your own business, right? And this one is a no-brainer. It's one of the things that I don't see a lot of people kind of talk about, and I didn't even think about it. But it's until this year that now I'm starting to make money, that then I can use that money to reinvest it into my programs, to reinvest it into making it better, to reinvest it into the partners that are going to make this 10 times, 100 times better, right? So those are another 3 ways that you can use it. Fundraising campaign. You can probably do this through a GoFundMe, through a Kickstarter. The only thing that they have asked me to sort of set up this whole campaign is my name, the name of the business, my EIN, which is the employer identification number, my bank account. So like that, all the funds can go through that. But again, like these are all ways that you can also raise money. So I've raised $30,000 up to this point. And you're probably wondering like, what happens when you get the money? How does that whole thing happen? It's really simple. It's just deposited in your account. Like if it was like revenue, like if it was income, it just goes in through your account. Most of these grants, the way that they transfer your funds is through the ACH or wire transfer. So when you actually get the grant, they're gonna ask you for your account number, your routing number for your bank, and that is the way that they're gonna be able to deposit it. And then at the end of the year, they might go ahead. If this is a taxable grant, they will send you a 1099 form so you can then file your taxes. All right, so now I want to give you 5 tips on how you can start applying. Okay, so tip number 1 is to use Google Docs to draft out your responses. Not only will this allow you to avoid the mistake of losing your application if your computer has issues, but you can also, one of the things that has helped me whenever I'm doing these applications is I start off with different bullet points. I just write down, bullet points, and then I make them into sentences. I then have like a draft 1, a draft 2, and so on and so forth until I get to the finalized version, and then I just copy and paste to the application. Tip number 2 is how to answer. Please share anything else you want with our team. So a lot of the programs that I apply for always give you like an option to share anything else you want to share with the team that is looking at your application. And in all my successful applications that I've gotten accepted, I always make sure I include a link to my personal social media. And the reason why I do that is because 1, my personal brand is really connected to the mission that I am trying to do, right? Which is helping undocumented people get jobs through entrepreneurship. But I also want to show them that I've been consistent enough throughout the years, and I have experience of influencing people and helping others even just through free content. So, my company is more than just making money. It's about helping the community get more jobs. But on the other hand, it's also my mission. I always tell people, I feel like this is my mission in life. This is the reason why I wake up every day. That's why I quit my job. And if you're building your personal brand, share that. If you have a podcast, share that. You have a YouTube, share that. Content, anything that has to do with who you are will also help you. All right, tip number 3 is how do you answer? Why are you the right person for this idea? Here, I used to think about, should I share my status? Should I not? And it really depends on you. But based on my experience, every application that I've gotten accepted to, I've talked about my status. I've talked about the 18 years that I didn't have DACA. I talk about how I personally struggled to get job opportunities since high school. I talk about, the fact that my dad is a day laborer. And then this allows me to connect it to my mission of the company, right? So ultimately, I give them some context, and then I tell them why this is important to me and why is it important for the economy to solve this problem, right? So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is how do you answer what traction do you have? And ultimately, this question is asking you about what have you done so far, what accomplishments do you have you raised any money, have you been part of some of these programs, and right here you really want to showcase contracts, you want to showcase leads like website visits, social media, you want to showcase interviews, press releases, past programs, and income, most importantly, right? So I recently applied to a $150,000 grant. And now that I am making income, that is the number one thing that I showcase, right? Is because if I'm trying to get a $150,000 investment to scale what I'm doing now, I need to show people that this is something that is profitable, which it is at the moment, and two, that it has scalability, right? So when you're talking about traction can come from, you know, social media followers. How many followers do you have? Obviously, right? If you have 100,000 followers, that shows your ability to influence those people, right? And it shows that there's a market there. And that marketing could be signups, could be new contracts, could be followers, could be all these leads on these websites, right? So that's how you would answer that. Tip number 5 is, what do you do if you get rejected? So I've gotten rejected a few times through some of these programs that I've applied to in the past. And if you get rejected, you know, just don't take it personal. It just means that you are still learning, you're growing. This doesn't mean that like you shouldn't build this company and your company doesn't have any potential, because at the end of the day, like the people judging you have a subjective view on your company, right? And you're the person behind it. So don't get discouraged. You know, I got discouraged a little bit. But one of the things that I personally have done whenever I get rejected is I reach out to the person that rejected me and I ask them, like, why? Like, can you give me feedback on my application so I can then apply again? Like a year ago, I applied to a $40,000 fellowship grant, and it was all around social impact with my company, and I got rejected. And I reached out to, you know, the person that rejected me, and they ended up giving me some good feedback. So then I could apply again. They told me everything on like, oh, I just think you're too early, or you should do this, and oh, you should apply to all these things, right? So make sure you ask for feedback on your application so then you can use the learnings for future applications. But again, don't take it personal, right? It's not a personal thing, and at the end of the day, like they're just there. It's just an opinion, right? Rejection is just an opinion, but see it as an opportunity for you to grow. Now, since you made it to the end of the video, I do want to give you some places where you can invest your money for the grant, just based on my experience, right? So the first place where I invested money was legalizing my business. So these are things such as like getting the EIN, setting up the business structure, the LLC, setting up the bank, getting my permits, getting my licenses, and insurance, right? So, you know, if you get money, you can invest it into that. Second thing that I've used money for has been operational equipment, right? So, you know, whether you have physical equipment, if you're doing something more service, something more in person, you can invest in that. And personally, I've invested in accounting software, or, you know, I've invested in QuickBooks, which make it easier for me to track my income and my expenses of my business. When tax season comes, I already know what my income is, what my profit and loss statement is, and it just makes it easier for me to move forward with an accountant, right? The third thing that I've invested in has been, you know, marketing, website, logos, logos. I've invested in an AI tool to just help me create a logo, or Canva. That's where I've created it. And then also like website design, like somebody to help you do a website, or you're using a content management system like a Wix, a Squarespace, a Webflow, that's also gonna, you know, have some cost for you to have it and maintain it, right? So that's the third thing I've invested in. And then the fourth thing I've invested in has been a team, right? So people that can help you with something in particular. In the past, I've used some of the grant funding to get a new redesign of the website. I've also used it for social media marketing help. I've used it for somebody to help me interview people. So yeah, the key here is just hire people that have the skills that you don't have, right? And because that's gonna make it easier for you. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, give this video a thumbs up and then comment down below if you have any other questions so I can make a future video on it.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.